All right. Well, welcome to today's Tribe Digital Marketing series. I'm joined by Caleb Trecek, who is the practice lead for our technology and data practice. Caleb, thanks for joining.
Thanks for having me, Josh.
Yeah. So let's dive into that a little bit. You're in marketing, but
Yep.
you're a practice lead for tech and data.
Yeah.
What do you love about marketing? What does all that mean?
Well, so if it's not implied by my title and the role in the team here, really my passions and where my focus really lies in the context of marketing is how technology can enable that and drive the business forward. Anything from MarTech specifically to something that we're starting to see more and more with our own customers is how does the organization's data as a whole and the technology that supports it have the capability to feed into marketing and drive conversations. And so yeah, just really from a technology perspective, when it's used right, it can obviously be very, very powerful. And so I really enjoy working with our clients to understand what that landscape looks like in their businesses and either how it is or is not being used to drive revenue across the organization and to drive alignment across teams as well.
I love it. So a quick just commentary on something you mentioned, the data aspect of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like in the time I've worked in marketing, everybody says data is a problem,
Mm-hmm.
but they don't necessarily act as if data is a problem. And by that, I mean, when it comes down to the rubber meeting the road and they have to make an investment in fixing data, that rarely happens. However, I feel like we're starting to see a little bit of a shift in that. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think, I've been doing this for going on 8 or 9 years now. And I think one of the biggest changes we're seeing is the marketing organization as a whole is and has been exposed to that concept of data more broadly speaking in an organization. When I started this 8 years ago, data was what was in CRM and marketing automation. That was
Mm-hmm.
it, right? And the idea of product and external databases and data warehouses like that kind of stuff never even popped into my mind as a marketing ops person.
Mm-hmm.
And that exposure, I think, has just happened more and more as big data and all those fancy terms get thrown around. Marketers
Right.
have come up to speed a little bit more on the concept of data and truly thinking about what data does the organization have that I might be able to leverage. So I think, like, first and foremost, it's just the maturation of marketing as an industry to think about not just how to go execute, but also
Right.
what can we draw from the company? What value does the company have in terms of data and technology that can really be used or even influence marketing campaigns down the road?
So the inherent value in data is becoming more towards the forefront, which then pivots into a natural inclination to invest in that data.
I think so. I think at a minimum, start having conversations with what the data means, where is it used, where
Yeah.
is it housed, and just building some of that internal muscle around, hey, we don't just go execute campaigns in a tool, but if we have a product or we have some other data set, like how do we as marketers have the ability to wrangle that and use it for our own purposes?
Yeah, and I think that's interesting because, as we pivot into the current environment and what people are faced with, primarily that being that face-to-face interactions are not just limited, but non-existent,
Mm-hmm.
whether it be events or in-person meetings or QBRs or whatever. What should marketers be thinking about? How should they be pivoting from your perspective?
Yeah, I think one of the things that we're starting to see even with our own customers is um, a bit of a slowdown in terms of the rat race of the day to day, and not that it's going away completely, and businesses still have to function for sure. Um, but I think that we have a unique opportunity in the current state of the world to take a step back and think about some of those things more intentionally than we maybe have time to do without having to work from home and all the other things that come along with what's going on. So I think there's a unique opportunity for marketers to not just take a look at their tech stack from a cost cutting perspective, which I know is happening a
Mm-hmm.
lot at this point, and from a viability perspective, but also what have I not explored in my own organization as a marketer in relation to either data we have in relation to our customers, data in relation to how our customers view us. There's like lots of different ways, right? You can go down the data path, and I think that just taking advantage of the opportunity we have to put a bit more thought behind that, I think is something that doesn't come up very often, and we don't often get those opportunities to stop the rat race of day-to-day marketing efforts and contemplate on some of those bigger questions that maybe we just haven't put the right amount of thought into in the past.
Certainly interested in the concept of, people automatically go into cost cutting mode, right? And you mentioned that in terms of the overall tech stack.
Yep.
But how often do you go in and see a highly underutilized technology or set of technologies that maybe could be exploited more now?
And yeah, I think that's a really good question. I'd say that even before the current events, I've worked with over 100 different organizations in the last 6 years, and I can't think of a time where I've really gone in and immediately seen a tech stack being utilized to its full extent. And there's a number of reasons behind why that happens, but I think that in conjunction with trying to figure out how to save money and certain things like that, there's also a unique opportunity to think about the technology we have, and maybe there are ways that maybe even don't fit the mold of how it should be applied, but it could be applied to drive value, and whether that's with prospects or customers or even from a thought leadership perspective. I think that there's also the opportunity there to think outside the box as marketers deal with slowdowns in their businesses generally. Again, there's I think a little bit more opportunity to be creative with some of that stuff.
Yeah, I love it. I think that's really good advice, especially just stepping back, looking what the data has to offer, look at what your existing technologies have to offer, and not necessarily look at it as we need to shrink, but now's the time to offer more value than ever. And those are the things that can give us first insights via the data, and then second, the ability to distribute and take action via the technology.
Right. Especially going back to your point of not being able to do the face-to-face or the face-to-face stuff now, right? Like technology is going to become even more important over the next few months to try to engage with customers and prospects. So definitely, I think while organizations are cutting costs to try to trim the fat to an extent, I think there's also the opportunity there to think about just the value that technology can provide with this seemingly endless virtual environment that we're faced with for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, I got it. Well, awesome, Caleb. I appreciate the insights. I think this is super actionable stuff.
Cool. Thanks, Josh. Appreciate you having me.
All right, man.